Nix, your help comes from the Lord. That was my bro Kevin to me on a very anxious day. There's nothing I could do to calm my nerves. I was just on edge the entire day. And I had promised him that I wasn't going to call him anymore for the day. And I still ended up calling him just for him to say, Nix, your help comes from the Lord. So that's just been a special thing from us, right? And the Psalm 121 that says, I look to the hills. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, right? So the other night I dreamt I was on this hill and I was quoting that verse. I was just looking around and I was just in this area with all these other hills and I was just quoting that psalm on top of the hill, right? The next morning I woke up to listen to my prayer. Before I even got out of bed, the prayer guide quotes the same verse. Where does my help come from? I look to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, right? Can you guys believe today I finished the prayer that I usually listen to for the first prayer or the daily prayers from God on YouTube, and immediately that verse, sermon about that verse played. And guess what, guys? On Sunday, as I was looking up that verse to tell my group, I never realized that I was quoting the verse wrong. I look to the hills, right? And then it's a period. And then it asks a question, where does my help come? Right? A question mark. I always thought I look to the hills from whence my help comes. So it was in my head, I had the wrong version of the verse. Can you believe that this prayer, after this prayer, after the whole sermon about that Psalm 121, and he corrected himself too? Like he thought it was from whence my help comes, and he said, no, it was a question mark. Where does my help come? So nobody could tell me that on Sunday I'm Googling these specific verses, Psalm 121, verses 1 through 2, and saying, oh, wow, I didn't know that it was this. I didn't know it was a question. I thought it was a statement. I look to the hills from whence my help comes. No, it was a question. From where does my help come, guys? Do you understand? I'm on Google questioning that, like, oh, I didn't know that. Only for today, 2 days later. 2 days later, guys. Only for 2 days later, for that sermon to pop up on YouTube, and he said, look, I was making the same mistake as you. How? God knows every thought that we think. Guys, do you hear me? Every thought that we think. He saw me on Sunday on Google questioning myself about that verse, saying, wow, Nick, you've been quoting this verse wrong, right? Only for this sermon to line up from years ago. You know, he was talking about the coronavirus 5-6 years ago. For that verse, he was talking, the whole sermon was about that verse. Those verses. In fact, it was about the whole Psalm 121, the whole chapter. And he said something so important that we feel like if we're close to God that we're not going to go through challenges, guys. But he's saying, no, you're going to go through hardships. He said, that's one thing that the Bible is honest about, that life gets hard. But we have God with us, guys. And that has been my experience. That's why I can tell you with all confidence, my help indeed comes from the Lord. Honestly, guys, the way God shows up for me, it's just been incredible. Like I just look back and say, how did this happen? How did that happen? It was just the hands of God on my life. And I want to tell you guys, do not miss out on all this help. Don't miss out on all this love. You know, for him to have that sermon to line up this morning just behind my prayer, to just read my mind from Sunday and to let me know he's intimately involved in my life and that his love will cast away all my fears, guys. Do you guys understand that? Today under the tree, he said, Nick, don't worry about performance and whether you fail or what's going on with how you perform. Just keep your mind on my unconditional love for you. Say, that's where I want you thinking about. Don't think about your performance and the performance that could go up and down. Just keep your focus on my constant and continual love for you. So guys, I don't want to be this loved by God myself. I want you here with me, man. And another God wink, I was telling my manager yesterday about this specific vehicle, the specific color and everything. And I said, whenever I see that, I just remember you. And I remember like some of the darkest times of my life. And can you believe I get up this morning to God and the neighbor has that exact car parked in the driveway? The exact color, the exact model and everything, guys. God knows every conversation. He was there in that conversation. Just reminded that in those dark times that I was going through, guys, God himself carried me out. So we will go through hard times. Thinking about my mom today and how she was saying, Nikki, stop telling everybody you had a bad day. And I say, Mommy, no, I have to tell them I had a bad day, but I have to tell them how God showed up for me in all those bad days. That's why he will tell me sometimes to the Justin Bieber song, sometimes I don't like you having the worst day, my Nick. Because those are the days I see his hands, like those days with that vehicle that I'm talking about. They were the most awful days of my life. But I don't know, for some way, somehow, God made it a way for me to get out of that situation. Okay, guys, so our help indeed comes from the Lord. Don't joke around with your relationship with him. So listen to the prayer from the First Light Prayer on YouTube, or the Daily Prayers with God on YouTube, or go to my page. Go wherever you're watching this. Just go to my page, okay? And tell God today is the day you want to walk closer and closer with him. No matter how you have performed in the past, no problem. Today is a new day that we can begin